Ago on the brigade, John Starkweather's brigade, and includes those guys. And you're probably aware the 1st is now is still a part of the Army today. 127th Infantry, Wisconsin Army National Guard.
No kidding.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's why I don't normally wear my University of Wisconsin hat when I give tours, but I figured today. And by the way, on Wisconsin, probably, I don't know if you know where the origin of that actually comes from.
No.
Excuse us, folks. We're having a moment.
No, hey, that's part of the history. That's part of the history. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
When Arthur MacArthur, many people are probably very well aware of the famous story of Arthur MacArthur when, grabbing the flag as of the 24th Wisconsin. By the way, he fought his first battle over down on Peters Hill at this battle 150 years ago today. But as he's going, as they're going up the hill, flag bearer gets killed, and he grabs the flag and starts going up the hill and leads the 24th Wisconsin up Missionary Ridge. Well, what he keeps repeating is "on Wisconsin, on Wisconsin," and so that's where it came from. So yeah. So, youngest colonel in the Union Army. He was he was the adjutant at the time, 18 years old, and then at the age of 19 in 1864, he becomes the colonel of the 24th Wisconsin.
Wow.
So, yes.
Did he win the Medal of Honor?
He did. He did earn a Medal of Honor for that. And of course, he and his son, Douglas, are one of only 2 father-son Medal of Honor recipients in military history, the other being Teddy Roosevelt of the Rough Rider fame, and then Teddy Roosevelt Jr. for Utah Beach on June 6, 1944. So I can already tell this is going to be a good group. Yes, they gave Teddy Roosevelt the Medal of Honor for the Spanish-American War for San Juan Hill.
I had heard he had said he'd rather have the Medal of Honor than be president.
Well, he got both.
He did get it.
He got both. Yes, he did. Well, good morning, everybody. Welcome to Perryville on this great 150th anniversary. I'm going to apologize, by the way, for a little bit of the disorganization this morning. The guy who was normally supposed to do this, I think, was completely fried after the weekend. And so I happened to be here. I was the chief historian of this battlefield for 3 years, the chief preservationist also for 3 years. I happened to write a book, which, get the commercial out of the way, is on sale in the gift shop.
The name of which?
It's the Civil War at Perryville.
Oh, that sounds
And,
reasonable.
yeah.
You got some more coffees in there? I went to get it.
There are.
Oh, there's more coffees.
Well, I saw them about 20 minutes ago.
They restocked because you had sold out yesterday.
Well, that's good. That makes me happy. I can pay another car payment. But anyway, so at about 10 minutes ago, before this shindig kicked off, my old colleagues who are running this place were like, "Chris, we need somebody to pull this together real fast. Can you help us out? Can you do the tour?" No sweat. So here I am. So what we're going to do is we're going to say again.
Yes, thank you.
Thank
My
you.
pleasure. It's the least I can do. And I always tell people that when you're out here, you're telling stories. The Greeks and the Romans. I'm going to get philosophical on you here for a second. I don't mean to preach this early, but with this crowd and this atmosphere, I think I can get away with it. The Greeks and the Romans believed that somebody wasn't truly dead until you forgot their name and/or their deeds. And so by keeping these stories alive, this is part of the service, that you render. So what we're going to do today is we're going to focus on the opening moves of the Battle of Perryville. We're going to focus on the opening of the afternoon fighting on October 8th, 1862. And we're going to walk to the top of the hill there. It should take us about 45 minutes or so. If anybody has any questions along the way, you can ask them between the tour stops, and then obviously I'll be around after to answer any questions that you may have also. How many folks have been here before by show of hands? Okay. Full disclosure, I had an ancestor, 21st Wisconsin Infantry, right in that cornfield, and that's why I'm wearing this. And I see quite a few other folks fall into the same category as myself. And then I had another one serving in another Wisconsin unit later in Rosecrans's army later in the war, but I digress. Okay, Battle of Perryville, October 8th, 1862, largest and bloodiest battle ever fought in the Commonwealth of Kentucky. Abraham Lincoln said in 1861, he said, "I think to lose Kentucky is nearly the same as to lose the whole game." Well, during the Confederate invasion in August and September and early October of 1862, it sure looked like that was going to be the case. Until the Federal Army, 55,000 men under Don Carlos Buell, moved out of Louisville on October 1st, 1 week ago today, and met Braxton Bragg's Army of the Mississippi, a detachment of it, 16,000 men here on this battlefield. And what we're going to do is we're going to focus on one aspect of the fighting, because by the time the battle ended, there was a long, fiery swath of fighting that stretched basically from what you see in front of you this way about 1.5 miles, and then stretching back that way as the battle flowed in this direction about 1 mile. So, but again, we're going to focus on just one segment. The other tours you see in your program are going to focus on the other segments throughout the day, so you can follow, actually, if you want to, the course of the battle. But we're going to look at the opening moves. Okay, to make a long story short, partly because we're pressed for time, to make a long story short, Bragg rides down here the morning of October 8th. He's expecting fighting to have occurred. And there had been some initial skirmishing at a place called Peters Hill, about 2 miles that way, early in the morning, as both sides literally were fighting over possession of Doctor's Creek, which was one of the best water supplies that they'd seen in about 5 days. Something very important to keep in mind is that the weather that day was very different than what we have now. It was unseasonably warm, it was in the 80s, and it was sunny. And it was also a very severe drought. For those of you who lived in Kentucky, think of the drought of 2007, that summer. That was the summer of 1862. Literally, you have creeks drying up. Yeah. Doctor's Creek, that you may have driven over as you're coming in, was a few scum-covered puddles, as an Indianan later described it. That is the best water supply these armies have seen in about 3 or 4 days. So what does that tell you about the condition of their thirst?
Pretty bad.
It's pretty bad, absolutely.
That's the way it was 5 years ago at the reenactment that we did. It was 95 degrees. Doctor's Creek was dry.
I lost probably 5 pounds of sweat, and it took me 2 days of Gatorade to get myself put back together after that. I remember that very clearly.
A couple little puddles now.
Yep. Okay, so anyway, that was the initial skirmishing, but at the end of that, the Confederate commanders, Leonidas Polk and William Hardee, on the scene, realized what Bragg did not, which is that Buell had his main body here, as opposed to a feint, the main body, the other body of federal troops that was up around their state capital, Frankfort, about 40 miles that way from this location. By the way, north, this fence line runs north-south. I'll further orient you as we go, but just while we're here, north fence line runs north-south. Bragg comes down enraged and orders an offensive. He orders an offensive to begin at 2 o'clock in the afternoon against the most visible and the most accessible part of the Union Army, which he sees deployed on those hills right through the trees to our south. Okay, now it's time to do a little bit of orientation before I get too much further to help you guys understand what's going on, because I'll be honest with you, Perryville, of all the battlefields I've ever done tours or staff rides for, Perryville has probably some of the most intricate terrain out there. First things first, north is that way. When you look at this battlefield, generally you're looking at 1862. This way, you're looking at 1862, take out the shade trees. There was a cornfield there, it was a little taller than what you see today. This way, you're mostly looking at 1862. Obviously take out the cars and the vans and the tents. However, this way, you're not looking at 1862. The ground, the folds in the ground are the same, but should be all open. No trees. Until you get to the ridge behind the swing set. Everybody see that swing set and the ridge behind it? Yeah. That should be wooded. Okay? This fence was here, by the way. It marked the property line that dated from 1780. So another fun little fact for you as well. Obviously no visitor center, no cemetery, things like that. But something to think about. Okay, now I'm going to do a living map. Help you guys understand how these troops are deployed, help you understand kind of who's engaged and things like that. And usually I tap people who are wearing blue, but today I think I've got a few likely candidates. So you three gentlemen, and well, you're wearing a Confederate kepi, so you're off the hook. And Hamilton College, you guys come here if you would, please. And actually, I'll take you too. Take you too. Okay, you guys stand right here for a minute. Let's see, who are going to be my Confederates? Even though he's wearing blue, which actually there were Confederates here that were wearing captured uniforms, so guess what? You fit the bill. You're going to be drafted. I'm drafting you. you.
Got it.
Thank you, sir.
I'm drafting you. I work for the Army as a historian. This is the Army style of volunteering. So I'm drafting the three of you. I'm drafting you, and I'll draft you in red. So you guys are going to be the Confederates. The rest of you, if you could, just kind of stand right over here. So you guys come right in here, if you would. Okay, first of all, let me deploy the Federals. And by the way, I'll show you in a minute where we're standing. Okay, on the Federals that are defending this area, and by this area I'm talking about from here and that battle line that extends to the south about a mile. Alexander McCook's 1st Corps, 13,000 men. There are 2 divisions in the 1st Corps. 7,000 men under Lovell Rousseau, who's a Kentuckian. He's from just down the road here in Stanford. And 6,000 men under James Jackson, a Kentuckian from Hopkinsville. Quantitatively, they are very close together in terms of strength. Qualitatively, however, they are more of a mixed bag. Rousseau's boys, 75% veterans. 3 brigades, each of the 3 brigades, 4 regiments, each brigade about 2,000 men, 4 regiments, 3 vets, 1 rookie. Now, when I say rookie, what I'm talking about is guys who joined the Army in August and September of 1862. And remember, no uniform basic training. So some of these guys are training as a unit and are firing their weapons for the first time or one of the first few times when they're doing it for real against the enemy. My ancestors' unit, the 21st Wisconsin, was so new they didn't have a battle flag when they deployed Ned Corn. And that was only the 4th time that they had maneuvered as a complete regiment, was when they did it for real on this battlefield. Okay, James Jackson's division is all rookies. These are all brand new soldiers. And they've got 2 brigades under him, under William Terrell, a Virginian who remained loyal to the United States. We'll talk more about him in a minute. And George Webster, whose direct descendant, William Webster, the former FBI director and CIA director, is going to be here later for the dedication ceremony. The 3 brigades of Rousseau's division, John Starkweather, William Haynes Lytle, and Leonard Harris. Okay, let me show you how they're deployed. On that hill, right there, it's Terrell's brigade, so guess what? You get to stand right here. And right in front of him, right here, is where we are on this map, okay? Behind is Starkweather on that hill and on the woods to the south. Was that it? Did I really echo that much, or was that somebody shouting? Okay, thank you. That kind of freaked me out. Okay, Starkweather, please stand here. Here. And if you could face that way. No, you face that way. You were just fine as you were. Right. Webster's brigade is going to be to the rear, here, and then in line, Lytle and Harris, right here. Where these guys are posted is on that ridge that you see just through the trees down there. How many people were here over the weekend? Okay, the area where you parked your car?
Yeah.
Is where these guys are posted. Oh. Yeah, I know you were here. The area where these guys are posted is where you guys parked your car. Okay?
That's a long line.
Yes, it is. It's a long line. The key point on the battlefield, and something when you think about this battle or when you do any other tours today, is always remember what the prize is. The prize is the Dixville Crossroads, which is right where I'm standing. It's a road intersection about a mile that way. It's where that road, Benton Road, meets the Mackville Road, which is the road you took to park your car yesterday, or Saturday as the case may be, where they meet. McCook's headquarters, hospitals, supply trains are right here. This is the prize. This is the most expensive real estate in central Kentucky 150 years ago today. If the Confederates can take this position, the McCook's Corps will be cut off from the rest of Buell's army, which is at least 2 to 4 miles that way from where we are. Be surrounded and liable to destruction. This is the objective. Always remember, whenever you think about this battle, the objective is here at the intersection. Okay, so how does Bragg propose to get the intersection? Well, I'll be honest. There are a great many things I can say about the generalship of Braxton Bragg. Did your ancestor fight in the Army of Tennessee?
I'm a Buckner.
You're a Buckner? Yeah. Okay. Well, obviously the answer is yes.
For a while, yeah.
Yes. I have a lot of respect. I have a lot of respect for your ancestors. You're Simon Bolivar Buckner the 5th, aren't you? Fourth. Okay.
With long generation.
Well, welcome to Perryville.
Thank you very much.
Okay, well in that case the answer is most definitely yes. I'm sorry. There are times I wish... Lee actually requested Buckner when he was released from Fort Donelson, as you're probably very well aware. But they wouldn't let him go.
You haven't seen my great-grandfather's unpublished papers on Braxton Bragg. They're rather blistering.
I like that. I like that illusion. I think you and I may need to talk about it. Okay, so basically there are very many things, as you probably can tell, there are a great many things of a negative character that can be told about the generalship of Braxton Bragg. One of the things that I will say is that Bragg, if you ever study any of the battles that he ever fights, whenever he launches an attack, it's always in echelon. It's the echelon attack. He does it here, he does it at Stones River, he does it at second day at Chickamauga, September 20th. What is the echelon attack, you may ask? Well, it's a real simple thing to explain. If I am McCook, and you three are going to attack me in echelon, the way it works is the echelon, we can start from right to left either way. In this case, it's going to start from the Confederate right on the north flank and go southward. So the idea is at 2 o'clock, you go in, you attack me. You are guiding on him. So you wait about a half hour and then you attack me. And you're guiding on him. And then you wait about a half hour and come in. The idea is to gradually building pressure upon my line and force me to spend my strength to defeat these men so that by the time he gets into action, be able to slip in a fatal fang and break things loose. Quite honestly, it's a lazy man's way to fight a war. Because all you do is you issue everybody their attack orders, and then you as the Army commander can sit back and watch it happen. It also removes any flexibility. Because what happens if these guys win a great victory, or what happens if these guys win a great victory, all of your reserves are already committed, you've already pushed all your chips to the table, and you're rolling the dice. So, something to think about. Also, although it's not necessarily relevant here, it is if you study Chickamauga or Stones River, what happens if you don't manage to break all of the enemy's line? The attack starts to break down and the enemy actually starts to swing like a gate and is able to put together a new defense. You see it on the second day at Chickamauga. I see a lot of heads nodding. Of course, the Round Forest, just ask William Hazen at the Round Forest on New Year's Eve. So anyway, that's another topic for another time. Any of you coming down for Stones River 150th, I'll see you there. We'll have that discussion then.
When is that?
New Year's Eve.
Oh,
29, 30, and 31 December 18th this year.
Okay,
2012.
okay. I'm going to do it on the... All right.
Okay, so anyway, the echelon is going to start from and move from north to south. Benjamin Franklin Cheatham's division of 6,000 men is going to deploy back where the park entrance is. In the center, James Patton Anderson's division, well, detachment of it, 2 brigades, about 5,000 men. And then to the south, and I would say this even if you weren't here, top to bottom, arguably probably the best division in this army on the battlefield is Buckner's division to the south. Any division that has Pat Claiborne in it,
Yeah.
and St. John Liddell certainly makes a strong showing. You know it will. Buckner's division here to the south. Actually, if you could come up on line with him. Okay, now there's one other force on this position, and that's you. Come with me, please. Come with me. This is John. You're not from Texas, are you? No. Good. Okay, John Warden's Texas Cavalry Brigade. Mostly Texas. There's some other states that are represented as well. Warden has been given the mission of scouting around and finding the Union flank. Because the idea is to attack and hit the Federals, get around them, flank them, and drive them, surround them, and crush them. It's actually a pretty good plan. Yeah. But it's all dependent on you, Colonel Warden, finding the end of the line. And here's what you report back. Well, no, you find the end, or what you think is the end. The end of the line is down there. The end of the line are these guys. You don't see Terrell, you don't see Starkweather. And then you park yourself right out here on the end of the line, basically for the rest of the battle, firing your horse artillery to support the infantry, but that's what you do. Why do I dwell on that? It's because when the Confederate attack goes in at 2 o'clock, Daniel Donaldson's Tennesseans, who are leading Cheatham's attack, down what is today we know as the Park Road and a little bit to the south, as soon as they pass behind where the visitor center is, they get a real nasty education. Because all of a sudden, 8 cannon and 3,000 Federal infantry on this hill, who had previously been unknown to the Confederates, opened fire. Staff officer observing the attack described how the 2 Tennessee regiments that were leading the attack were literally blown away. And both of them lose over 30% casualties in a very short amount of time and are sent scurrying back from whence they've come. Nice job, Colonel. The Confederates have just gotten a very expensive education. Actually, no, you're not. You will remain in cavalry commands, although in 1865 you will be shot 3 days before the surrender at Appomattox. You got in a fight with somebody over in Texas. You've been transferred back to your home state.
I was going to say, by my own men.
No. Well, actually, yeah, it was. It was an argument with another Confederate officer, so I guess you could say you got shot by your own men. Yeah. So, okay, what does all this mean? This means that all of a sudden, they thought this was the flank. Instead, what they did was they attacked right into the center. Oops, is right. So, Cheatham has to stop, reset, reform, and prepare a new attack. And so he takes the other 2 brigades he's got up here, about 4,000 men total under Alexander P. Stewart and George Maney, all Tennesseans except for the 41st Georgia, and moves them north behind that ridge and takes up a position in the woods. Their job is quite simple. Well, it's simple to say. Just like Eisenhower's directive. Get ashore at Normandy, go to Berlin. Very simple. A little hard to execute. Take the hill. Yeah, quite simple. That right there is the strongest piece in Civil War chess. A hill defended by infantry, supported by artillery. Now, one other thing I want to point out to you before we examine how this action is going to start and really get underway in earnest is, remember what I said. What brigade is that up there? It's William Terrell's brigade. It's of Jackson's division. Rookies or veterans? Rookies. This is not going to shouldn't be a problem because there's an experienced general officer up there who's commanded infantry in battle before. I'm talking about James Jackson, who was up there on horseback directing the defense. And he knows the Confederates are coming after him. At 2:30, the Confederates, with a cheer, with a little bit of preparatory bombardment, I'll show you, you can see the artillery at our next stop, come out of the woods and begin to attack through these fields. And the Battle of Perryville gets underway now in earnest. And this starts what will end up being the largest and the longest and bloodiest part of the Battle of Perryville, stretching from basically where that swing set is around through these hills here. 5 hours of fighting starts right now. What I want to do is I want to walk down the fence line to almost the next break, I think it is, down there, and we'll see how Maney's boys fare against the Federals and see how the Federals fare because they've got their own problems as the battle develops. So let's come on down.